Hey guys, so you might be watching this right now, and let's say you're in a tough situation with your parents. Let's say you and your parents do not get along. You know, you guys just don't get along, and your parents constantly, put you down. They're constantly nagging you. They're constantly, telling you things like, you'll never go nowhere, or you're not good enough. So they're always putting you down, right? And so this hurts you, right? Like this makes you feel like this puts you completely down, right? Like you feel like, my parents, they don't love me, they don't care about me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and live my life, right? I'm just gonna go do what I want to do, right? And I'm gonna go live my life. I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? And so and in the back of your mind, right, sometimes like you wake up, let's say in the middle of the night with like nightmares, right? You wake up panicking, right? You wake up, and this happens constantly, right? And in the back of your mind, you also, right, have a sense of guilt, right? Like you also feel like you're not at a good place with your parents. And so a part of you wants to be in a good place, right? A part of you wants to feel like you and your parents are in a good place, right? And so and this is the video I wanted to make for those out there, right, that are in a tough place with their parents. And you're out there living your life, and you're like, my parents, they just don't understand me. They're always putting me down, and etc., right? And so oftentimes, right, we take what our parents say for face value, right? Like sometimes they'll say things like, oh, you'll never be good enough, right? And so we take that to say, and we think like, oh man, my parents really mean that, like they really mean that, I'll never do anything good with my life, right? Like they really mean what they're saying, right? But there's also a part, right, that we oftentimes miss, and that's that parents don't always mean what they say, right? Like and you might be saying like, what do you mean? Like they said it, so why wouldn't they mean it, right? But I'm telling you that sometimes parents say things out of emotion, right? Like sometimes they'll say things out of anger, sometimes they'll say things out of frustration, right? So you can't hold them to that, right? Like, your parents, they are accountable to they are accountable for what they say. But at the same time, right, you as a person, right, that's trying to build a relationship with your parents, right? Like I said, you wanna be in a good place with your parents, right? You have to come from a place of understanding. You have to come from a place of understanding, right? Trying to understand where your parents are coming from, right? Like I said, sometimes they might say things to you that they don't necessarily mean, but they're saying it out of emotion, right? Like at that moment, something might have happened, right? And so, their first instinct was to say that, right? Or, let's say, let's say there's other things that they might be going through personally, right? Maybe there's things they, let's say when they're growing up, their parents, they saw their parents treating them this way as kids. And so this is what they've learned through their parents, right? And so, what I'm basically saying is that, you shouldn't necessarily take everything that your parents say for face value, right? Try to understand them, right? Like your parents, just because they say something doesn't mean that they don't love you, right? Because there's always a love there, right? There's always a love that's there naturally, right? It's natural love. And so these things that they say, it doesn't mean that they don't love you, right? It just means that, like I said, it was just for the moment, right? And just look at yourself, right? Like how many times do you say things yourself, right, out of emotion, out of anger, right? And when you think back at it, you're like, I shouldn't have not said that, right? Like, I slipped up there, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, right? Like, you even feel bad later too, because you're like, man, why did I say that, right? Like, you might have said something to your parents, for example, where later you're like, I shouldn't have said that, right? And so, yeah, that's what I basically wanted to just let you guys know, is that, you know, parents, yeah, they're very hard to understand, but just to know that everything that they say, you can't take it for face value, right? Especially, you know, when they're saying things that are like, it appears negative, right? Like, it appears as if they don't love you, or it appears as if, you know, they're putting you down, right? And so, yeah, I just wanted to, you know, let you guys in on that, and just and just keep that in mind, right? Like, keep that in mind, you know. Understand that, you know, your parents are also humans, right? You know, they're gonna make mistakes, right? Oftentimes we expect our parents to be perfect, right? Like, we expect, you know, our parents to be perfect parents, right? And so, and yeah, no one's perfect, right? Like, no one's perfect at the end of the day. And being a parent is something that, you know, it takes learning, right? Like, it takes education, right? Like, you know, if you haven't learned it, you're gonna learn from things around you, right? Whether that's your parents, your own parents, your great grandparents. So it's like, sometimes it's also generational, right? And so, you know, yeah, just, you know, everybody's learning, right? Like, everybody's is learning. Everybody's going through a journey, and just keep that in mind, you know. And yeah, like, you know, we all would love our parents, right? To, you know, shower us with compliments, you know, shower us with you know, good words and all these things, right? But, you know, you know, it's like I said, our parents, you know, they're not perfect, right? You know, they're not perfect, and they're learning, right? And so, and yeah, I just wanted to, you know, put that out there, just to say that, you know, yeah, you know, be easy on your parents, right? Like, be more understanding towards your parents, and, you know, and try to, you know, yeah, just be more understanding, and just try to communicate with them in a way that, you know, is gentle, right? Like, you know, you also, and these things you have to learn as well, right? Like, as you grow and as you mature and you grow older, right? You learn how to communicate yourself, right? And like I said, we're all learning, right? You know, none of us can sit here and say that, you know, we're the best at communication, or we're the best at understanding, or we're the best at whatever we do, right? And so, yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. And I just wanted to, you know, put that out there. And yeah.